Let's bring in James Bezan. He is the Conservatives' critic on national defense. Great to see, as always. I know you know your stuff when it comes to this, so what do you make of this?
Well, good afternoon, Todd, and thanks for having me on. This is, something that conservatives believe that we have to support our NATO commitments. However, we need to have a plan exactly how Mark Carney and the Liberals plan on spending this money. We just don't need to waste money. We actually want to see this invested in capabilities. We want to make sure that those members that serve in the Canadian Armed Forces are well taken care of. And we've already seen the Liberals walk back some of their commitments when they said they're going to 2%, which included a 20% increase in salaries. Now they're saying isn't really going to happen. So, there's a lot of money that has to be rolled out. We want to make sure it's not just, as the Auditor General found, money that's being wasted on interim solutions, but actually we want to see it put into hard infrastructure to support, the new fleet of F-35s, which was the study that the Auditor General released a couple of weeks ago. But we need to make sure that every step of the way that those that currently serve are being taken care of. We know that the Canadian Armed Forces is short 6,700 military housing units, and the government only plans on buying 600 or building another 600 homes. That's not enough for the shortage that we currently have. We know that troops under the lost Liberal decade have had to resort to using food banks and are living rough, often unhoused. So we know that the recruitment and retention crisis the forces have faced is because of the mismanagement and neglect by the Liberals. So we expect them to be first and foremost taken care of, and that the Liberals aren't using creative accounting to make up the 3.5% on defense spend and ultimately the 5% overall when you add in the development of critical minerals, those mines and resources, as well as critical infrastructure that has dual use possibilities for both military and civilian use.
If we were to get to 150 billion, and if it was being spent on the proper priorities as you're outlining, James, would your party support that? Would the Conservatives agree to that level of spending on the military?
Well, this is why we needed a budget. We need to know where this money is coming from. Canadians deserve to know the truth. That those that serve in the Canadian Armed Forces need to have the direction that a budget provides in developing their departmental plans. And so if we are looking at overall performance, we need to make sure that the dollars are well accounted for, that we are buying what is going to be to the benefit of our Canadian Armed Forces first and foremost. Secondly, that the Canadian defense industry gets to benefit from it as well. And that we are looking at ways to improve the equipment and the infrastructure that the Canadian Armed Forces operate from. The world is definitely a more dangerous place. And as conservatives, and Pierre Poilievre has been very clear that we need to be investing in taking care of our own sovereignty and defending our Arctic as well as all our coastlines. So new warships, new submarines, new fighter jets, new AWACS and P-8 aircraft are all required, as well as new land vehicles for the Canadian Armed Forces. And under a previous Conservative government, we made sure that we had new Chinook helicopters. We bought new C-130J Hercs, C-17 Globemasters, over 100 Leopard tanks, and almost 1,000 brand new LAVs for our Canadian Armed Forces. And all that has been worn out and rusted out under these Liberals, and they're only now starting to think about replacements.
Hey, I've got another question. Are you worried at all that some of this, James, is about trying to keep President Trump happy, sort of in the here and now? You make these pledges, you make these commitments, everybody gets on board and says, yeah, within 10 years we'll be at 5%. And but in fact, President Trump has 3 years left in office, and that could shift as we get closer. So this becomes something to keep the president happy, but whether it actually happens is another question. I don't just mean Canada, I mean other NATO countries as well.
There's no question that there's been pressure from the U.S. administration on increasing defense spending. But meanwhile, they've actually, through their own deficit reduction program that Elon Musk took under, they actually reduced defense spending at the Pentagon. This is a 10-year plan. There's no question that the world has become more dangerous. All we have to do is look at Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, Iran's and their proxies attacking Israel. We look at the ongoing provocative measures being taken by the People's Liberation Army in Beijing against Taiwan, the Philippines, and other neighbors in the Indo-Pacific. So we have to be prepared for the worst, and there is definitely deterrence through strength, and Canada must do its part as an ally under both NATO and NORAD to make sure that we are standing up for ourselves first and foremost, protecting Canadians and our territory, and working alongside the United States and our NATO allies to protect both continental North America and the rest of the world as we stand as free nations that are both democracies and believe in free markets and free people, to stand up against these authoritarian regimes that want to change the global international order.
James Bezan joining us from Manitoba. He is the Conservatives' national defense critic. It's great to see, as always, and as always, thanks for taking time for CTV News.
Glad to be on the show.